Story 1. Am I the a-hole for ruining my family's New Year's Eve by refusing to join the fun because I didn't want to be the designated driver again? Hey Reddit, I, 26 female, need some serious perspective. I'm starting to think I might be the a-hole, but I still feel like I'm in the right LOL. Every New Year's Eve, my family has a big party at my aunt and uncle's house, and every year, without fail, I end up being the designated driver. Don't get me wrong, I love my family, but it's starting to bug me. It's been like this since I was 19, even before I was legally allowed to drink. I don't drink much, maybe a glass of wine or a beer, but I don't get plastered. I'm fine with driving people home if they need it, but for the past few years, everyone expects me to not drink so I can drive them back. Every year it's the same. Oh, can you drive? You're not drinking anyway. I always say yes because I don't want to let anyone down. Fast forward to this year's New Year's Eve. I told my family ahead of time I wasn't going to be the designated river anymore. I just wanted to enjoy the night, have a couple of drinks, and not be responsible for getting everyone home. I even told my cousin, who usually gets really sloshed, that I wasn't driving this year, and she was fine with it. When I got to the party, it was the usual chaos. People were drinking, laughing, and having a good time. I was enjoying myself, but around 11, my cousin came over and asked if I was ready to drive everyone home. I reminded her I'm not driving tonight. I'm here to enjoy the party. She looked at me like I was crazy and said, "Come on, you always drive. Don't be a jerk." Which, what the fuff? I tried to explain calmly that I wasn't being a jerk, just that I wasn't going to be the chauffeur anymore. Then, my aunt overheard and pulled me aside. She lectured me, saying, "We all agreed last year you'd be driving. You know how much we rely on you. Everyone else is too tipsy and Ubering is so unsafe. Just drive this one time for the family." I felt a ton of pressure but refused. I told her I'm not their chauffeur and wasn't going to do it again just because no one else could figure out their own ride. My aunt got upset, saying I was being selfish and that we're family. She said I'm the only one who doesn't get too drunk, so it makes sense for me to help out. I told her I had already had 3 beers, so I wasn't even legally supposed to drive myself. That's when I snapped. I told them it's not my job to be their designated driver every year just because I'm the only one who doesn't get blackout drunk. They needed to figure out their own rides this time. Then I got up and left. I felt bad walking out, but I didn't want to be a doormat anymore. I spent the rest of New Year's Eve at home, watching Netflix and eating leftover pasta with my boyfriend. My family texted me, calling me dramatic, selfish, and saying I ruined the night. They said I was being super sensitive and that everyone was disappointed in me. Everyone's demanding an apology out of me even now. And by the way, I got home perfectly safe by Uber. But anyways, Reddit, am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. You are not the a-hole. Your family is gross. But why didn't your boyfriend spend New Year's Eve with you? He's a nurse and had a shift that cut into the party. He could have potentially come, but he was exhausted and wanted to go straight home and take a shower while he waited for me to get back. Another reason I didn't want to be the designated driver. I didn't want to stay out too late because I wanted to see my boyfriend. Well, I agree wholeheartedly with the Redditor who said you should spend New Year's Eve someplace else. What you auntie did was incredibly entitled and disrespectful. Clearly, you did not agree to be the driver. She and your other drunk relatives decided that you would be the driver. If you're going to celebrate New Year's Eve with them in the future, you need to cut the cord and be absent for a few years so that they can figure out how to handle this without you and without treating you like their paid chauffeur. I agree, but at the same time, I feel like this is tearing a hole between me and my family, and that's the last thing I want. My sister was on my side after hearing both sides of the story. She lives on the other side of the country and is pissed off for my sake, LOL. My parents, however, are embarrassed, and I feel bad about that. Is this usage of alcohol common in your family? Like any event, an excuse to drink? There was a post here a while ago about a guy whose parents always made him designated driver on Halloween. It sounds similar to this. I didn't realize this was a common thing. I'm a little relieved to know I'm not alone. But yeah, my family loved to get tipsy at things like parties, football games, barbecues, etc. I decided young I wouldn't be a big drinker because I always found the behavior disgusting, especially watching how mean my dad could get when he drank too much. When you got your driver's license, did being the designated driver become a common assignment? Not at first. I'm someone who struggles with a lot of anxiety, and driving caused that for a long time. I pushed off getting my license until I was 18 because of it. They didn't ask me to be a designated driver until I was 19, and at first I felt kind of cool because I was being the responsible adult and helping people I loved out. But it quickly got old when I had to drive back and forth multiple times to get everyone home and no one offered to pay for gas. Is this a joke? If they have to Uber home, it ruins their New Year's Eve. But if you have to watch everyone get drunk while you drink soda, and then you have to drive everyone home, then your New Year's Eve is fine. None of these self-centered people figured out that having to be the designated driver to your entire family every single New Year's Eve is probably not that much fun for you. Of course you are not the a-hole. Did you even have to ask? This is rage bait, girl. I'm sorry for the rage bait my family, parents specifically, were starting to get to me. My mom refuses to speak to me until I send an apology text, and I honestly started to feel a little childish. My best friend is obsessed with Reddit, and she thought writing this would be a good idea for me to get advice from someone who isn't biased like my friends or boyfriend. Wow, your family really take the cake. Your aunt pulls you aside and tells you that we all agreed that you would be the designated driver, when what she means is that they all agreed it, and then acted like they have collective authority over you. And now your mom refuses to talk to you unless you apologize for the fantastically rude and user-ish way they all treated you? I don't know your life, so maybe if you look at the big picture, this is one annoying thing in a generally good family life. Or, maybe when you start thinking about it, you'll realize that you are often demeaned, talked down to, treated like a disobedient child, instead of a whole-grown 26-year-old woman. No one on the internet really knows the big picture of your life. Good luck. Send your parents the link to this. Your parents and family suck, not the a-hole. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister if the show she kept sending me clips of didn't help her understand why I'm no contact with our dad? Then there's no hope for her? I, 31 female, have 3 siblings. I have an older brother who's 32 and 2 younger sisters who are 27 and 26. When we were kids, our mom died from cancer. 18 months later, our dad met and married his second wife, who had also lost her husband and had 3 children with him. They knew each other for less than 2 months when they decided we were all going to be one big blended family. Then it took less than a year for the word adoption to come up. They wanted to adopt each other's kids. 3 of us were not okay with this. Me and my brother, and then wife number 2's oldest son. We were the 3 who remembered our late parents really well and didn't want to have a new mom or dad. This did not matter to the adults. My dad told me and my brother that our younger sisters were on board, and our younger 2 step-siblings were on board, and majority rules. I was 10 years old at the time, and it had been 3 years since my mom had died. The house became a battlefield after this decision because they could not get us older 3 on board, and when they went through the process to adopt each other's kids, they were denied the ability to adopt the 3 of us who didn't want it. So the younger 4 kids were adopted by their step-parent. The older 3 were not. The anger could be felt by all the kids, and the younger ones blamed us, and didn't understand why we weren't on board. Wife number 2 and I argued a lot in my teens. She tried to reach out to me as a mother, and I rejected her as a mother. I could be civil and respectful if she was just an adult. But I told her I didn't want another mother, and she didn't like that. She would also tell me how much it hurt that me and my brother didn't want to be her kids. She'd say she loved us, and all she wanted was to call all 7 of us her kids. She said she could not understand the need for us to hold on to the dead, and she said, it's not like we didn't still see our late parents' families, so we should grow the F up and let them be happy. I told her she should grow the F up and accept she can't force people to be her kids. There were several attempts to push the adoption through without us wanting it, and legally it was rejected every time. We were even dragged to a church therapist who tried to talk us into submission about the topic. The relationships were all very strained. My relationship with my brother is the only strong one today, and we're both no contact with our dad and wife number 2. To To the best of my knowledge, wife number two's oldest son has no contact with anyone, including his siblings. My brother and I still have a relationship, albeit a strained one, with our sisters. They were invited to our weddings and have met our kids, but they don't approve of the no contact, and they are on a lower contact now because they have said, our kids should know dad and wife number two. I disagree, and have said it would not be healthy, but my sisters don't overly care. There was a show on TLC a few years ago called The Blended Bunch. I never watched it, but saw some clips and it hit close to home. One of my sisters saw it and sent me TikTok clips that centered around some of the kids not wanting to be adopted, and one of the relatives of the family being the voice of reason. Only my sister kept saying I was a craphead like the relative who said they wouldn't want it either, and it was wrong to force on the kids. I told her after several comments that if the clips didn't help her see why I went no contact, and how awful it is to see crying kids, and to still try and push them, then there's no hope for her at all. I told her she didn't live through the experience in the same way our brother and I did. Her reply back was that I was ungrateful and should see those kids being brats and trying to ruin a good thing just like we did. She also told me to say there's no hope for her shows how repulsive I am as a person. After all this, I'm pretty sure no contact will need to extend to both sisters, because both act the same, only one has TikTok for this interaction. But I could still be an AI hole in this, so I'm asking if I am or not. Now for the comments. You and she had very different experiences because you were older and had stronger memories of your mother. Each of you siblings have your own personalities and feelings, and your relationship with stepmother was not the same as her experience. Also, the fact that your father and stepmother repeatedly kept trying to force you and your brother and stepbrother to accept adoption so many times will no doubt have caused huge stress, anxiety, and upset for the three of you. That will also have had a huge impact on the relationship between you, your father, and stepmother. If your sister thinks so poorly of you that she thinks you were a brat and that your dad and stepmother deserve to be in your life, then she doesn't think much of you at all. If it's better for your mental health to cut her out, do so. It's not like you haven't tried your best to remain in touch with your siblings whilst choosing to protect yourself from your dad and stepmother. Not the eye hole. Yeah, her sister's perspective completely disregards how she and her brother were treated as children. She can't claim to fully understand something she didn't experience the same way. It's unfair of her to expect her to forgive and forget such a painful chapter of her life. She's not just calling OP and the older brother brats when they were kids. She's calling these kids who are crying on TV in the more recent past the same thing. It speaks to an ugly personality that doesn't respect someone else's agency when their wishes are contrary to what she thinks is correct. The parents were a-holes then, but this sister is an a-hole now. You're not the a-hole. It's a shame that your sister is so full of hate. A cynic would speculate that she was brought up by people who had crap values and put their own happiness above their children, and that your sister continues to hold on to those values. A nasty cynic would suggest that you should break contact by telling her that if she dies, her children should be encouraged to forget about her as quickly and as completely as possible, in keeping with her own lack of values, but I don't quite go there myself. Yeah, maybe her husband can remarry ASAP, so her kids can be adopted by their new mom. I think it's weird that the obsession over their fantasy of adopting each other's kids has persisted throughout your childhood and well into your adulthood, and that your younger sisters are now acting her obsession out at you. That's one powerful narcissistic injury. It's very weird. But they were determined for things to play out a certain way and didn't want to give in and accept they would never be that particular way. Three of us had memories of the parents we lost, and we loved those parents we lost. There was no new mom or dad for us three, and that drove the surviving parents crazy. Do you talk to the older step-sibling? We don't. We were never close and never had a relationship, really. He left around the same time as my brother, and we didn't see or hear from him since. I'm sorry they did it to you all. I found it weird that an older sibling of your second oldest step-sibling was fine with the adoption, though. Usually it's the older kids like you and your brother who have memories that will not want it. The oldest step-sibling is the one who said no to the adoption. Sorry if I wasn't as clear about that. It was me and my brother, the oldest of Dad's kids, and the oldest of wife number two's kids, who said no to the adoption. Her younger two wanted to be adopted. Good Lord. Of course you're not the a-hole. And yes, it seems your sister is incapable of accepting any reality that does not fit her cookie-cutter, Hallmark movie vision, so needs to be either no contact or low contact. You seem to have moved on with your life. She needs to do the same. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not giving cat supplies we purchased for a cat we found after the owner claimed her? On December 24th, my boyfriend and I found a stray cat outside of my house. After some time, we were able to bring her into the house. I posted on Facebook and some local groups asking if anyone was missing a cat. I got no response. A couple days go by and we take her to the vet. She wasn't microchipped, not fixed, no collar, and purchased some items from Petco, etc. Altogether, we spent about $400 on her. The day before New Year's Eve, I saw a post about someone missing a cat near us and how there was a reward if found, and it was obviously the cat we found. I knew giving her back would be the right thing, so I reached out to the woman. She was thankful and happy. She drove to our house and rang the doorbell. She did not tell me this, but she had the sister cat in her hands. The dog started barking, and when I opened the door, the cat did a backflip and out of her hands and ran away. She said she was embarrassed, but we reassured her we'd help find the other cat. We gave the cat back, she put her in the car, and we started to look. At some point, she went to the car again and opened the door, and the other cat got out. My BF and I were shook, and quite frankly, very upset and regretful. We helped this woman look for these cats all day. Eventually, she found the first cat that ran, but it took 2 days to find the second one. She rewarded us with $500, which was extremely kind and not necessary, but she said she felt bad for the trauma she caused. She alerted me when she found the cat, and I said I was happy for her. My BF and I immediately started planning to meet another kitten up for adoption, because this did make us sad. It's been almost a week now, and today I woke up with a text from her that said, "I spoke with the vet clinic and they informed me of the price of the vaccines you had Luna get. It wasn't near $400. If there are any foods, treats, or additional things you purchase towards her care, I would appreciate them if possible for our care of Luna if you are willing to." This honestly shocked me and made me upset. It feels like she's backpedaling and regrets giving us $500. I clarified that it was $400 in total we spent, not just vaxes. Told her I had receipts for everything, that we didn't even tell her how much we spent thinking she'd reimburse us. Rather to prove we cared about the cat. Brought up how we helped look for her cat after she lost it again, and then I ended with saying this all made me very uncomfortable, and that I would appreciate if she didn't reach out anymore. She began telling me again that she's a single mom of 3 kids and how she'd not a bad person. Of course, now I feel guilty and think maybe I should drop off some cat food. But at this point, we have planned to use it for our new cat. Am I the a-hole for not giving her the supplies we had purchased? Now for the comments. Not the AI hole. You did everything right. Just keep it polite and civil. Do not let your emotions get the better of you. If she contacts you again, simply deny the request again, and then block her and move on. Best of luck with the new kitten. This OP, she chose to give a reward of $500 one to boot. She has no business having 2 cats seeing she keeps losing them. She's just trying to pull at your heartstrings, trying to con you out of the goods you purchased. Not the AI hole. Who brings an unsecured cat to a stranger's door? You were kind to take care of the stray. Awesome to give her back after spending so much on her. Above and beyond on the helping with new lost cat search. Not your fault she gave you more than she could afford. I'd offer to give her the money back if she brings the cat back. Obviously, it's too much for her. Right? Something is wrong with this lady's thinking. Yeah, okay, maybe cat number 2 missed cat number 1. So reunite them at home. You are already missing 1 cat, so you think, OMG, the lost cat was found. Alive, which, hello, rare. I'm going to bring cat 2 with me to pick her up, but not in a carrier. OMG, I should totally carry him to the door. Absolutely nothing could go wrong here. Cats are not dogs. And this woman has children? I'd keep the money as an idiot tax, not the AI hole. You say she rewarded you with $500. But was this the actual amount of the advertised reward, or did she pay you that amount to cover your expenses? Also, how did she find out how much was spent on the cat? Did you tell her or the vet? I guess my answer will depend on whether there was anything to suggest the money was meant as a reimbursement. If the cat owner said, "Gee, thanks for finding Fluffy. Here's $500 to cover your expenses plus a little extra for the assist," then yes, you need to give her the items. Short of that, I think probably not the AI hole. But again, it depends on the conversation and circumstances surrounding the $500 payment. Edit to add. It was kind of you to help an animal in need, and I hope you find the perfect kitten for your home. There was not a specific dollar amount in the post. Award if found is all it said. And in my initial text to her where I told her we found her cat is where I told her how much we'd spent. I told her that just so she could know we took her to the vet and had supplies to take care of her while she was with us. Kind of like to prove she was in good hands. She had told me immediately she would send me money because of the trauma she caused. I had told her it truly was not necessary, yet she still sent it. This is why I guess I'm confused and kind of annoyed. Not the eye hole. If this lady's cat shows up at your place again, snag it, chip it, license it, and keep it in your house. This lady is going to get those cats killed. Reminds me of when I once found a dog wandering the streets in Santa Monica. I called the number on the collar and sat at a nearby restaurant to meet the owner. The woman who turned up was literally living on the beach, not in a house, and looked in bad shape and not of sound mind. I didn't know this was the dog's living situation, but I felt like it was the right thing to return the dog to his owner. When I was walking back to my car, I saw the dog running away from her again before she finally caught up to him. It made me wish I got a second chance at rescuing him. This may get downvoted, but if you find an unfixed, unvaccinated, unchipped, untagged animal roaming, it's up for grabs. It has an irresponsible caretaker who doesn't give one crap about it. This is actually the response I got from some of the vets and this woman who fosters kittens in my area, who checked if she was microchipped.
Thank you for listening. If you like the video, consider like and subscribe. If you want more stories like these, turn on your notification to receive the latest stories.